Hey all, so War 7 here, and I am once again using Absorbing Man on Path 9. Some things lined up nicely for this. We did end up planning with 9 again. We had somebody kind of sick, and so that's just the story of this season, it seems. But these fights at least go well. Um, as I've shown before, the class disadvantage here stings a little bit, and it is very easy to lose track and get a debuff from Void on you just because of all of the timers on both sides of the screen here. But you don't really have to worry about pausing. You don't have to do anything fancy with intercepts or heavy interrupts to get the long pause there. Hazard Shift will take care of things for you. And so the important thing is to just keep heading to the special 2 and try and keep an eye on the combo. Obviously, I did let a debuff in there for a little bit. Not ideal, but it's not too much damage, and that is very literally what potions are for. Carl's not going to have any problem with this. Now, ideally, I would probably heavy into this next special. Yeah, I should have gone for a heavy counter there. I think I was so focused on the combo that I kind of forgot about the rest. But at the same time, we don't have any vulnerabilities up. We don't have access to the incinerates in this matchup. This is kind of a good illustration of the limitations of Carl's damage in fights where it's not getting juiced by armor breaks. Even though we have access to the easy pauses, it is still not the fastest fight in the world. So we move on to this Magneto House of X. Haven't seen this much in the upper tiers because this would be a pretty easy place to ramp Corvus, I guess. Um, but it is a tactic, so it makes sense to see it, and this could potentially stop Ghost, so I understand why it's here. But this is a rank 3, and so this is going to be pretty simple. I'm going to end up blocking some of these special ones. I actually go for most of these dexes, and they just don't quite work out. I always err on the side of late with dexing his special 1 because I would rather block it than eat it, but you see that I am definitely erring here, except for that very last one, and so I do take some block damage. Not a big deal though. The extra expiring buff from Feats of Indestructible is really helping us there, both with our pauses and with ramping, so that was nice. And then we move on to Longshot. I do have an Indestructible boost for this fight because Longshot is rude, and it is difficult to control his power on this particular node due to power efficiency, and so there is just a non-zero chance that he pushes to a special 3. We are not going to embrace that as an explicit strategy because his special 3 stuns, and that would hurt. Um, because his basic attacks are still physical, and we have no recourse against that while we're in Magma, but it is just a little bit of extra insurance. Similarly, I am blocking most of these specials because I think, again, I am kind of going for most of these dexes. There, you see me get one. But I am erring on the side of late every time because I do not want to be wrong and eat a full special, and I especially do not want to eat a special 1 because those instant bleeds from Pure of Heart are probably the number 1 way I die in that fight. So moving on to Nick Fury here, this is a very good Nick placement because basically all of his best counters have or aren't nullify immune, and so can trigger the node that sends him unblockable all the time. And so that's why I'm using Toad with the Dexterity Mastery off. Because Toad is just an absolutely incredible Nick Fury counter, and then the rest of this node doesn't matter as long as I don't Dex. Now I do have to be careful. I don't want him to throw his special 1, and right there I had to fight so hard against muscle memory to not try and dex his special 2 because that is always how you handle it. So that was a little spooky for me. But as long as we don't bait a bunch of special ones, as long as we use the tactic to keep pushing him to his special 2 right here, and as long as we hit his block to control the tactic, this is going to be a very simple fight because nothing about the rest of the node is helping him out. This is just Toad versus Nick with a little more block damage than normal. And then we get an absolutely amazing roll there. I don't think I've ever converted 8 active poisons into 8 passives. But yeah, down he goes in literally less than a minute for Nick Fury on a very dangerous mini-boss. Gotta love that. And so now we head directly into this Guardian fight, and some of you may have already noticed a problem. Because I'm heading into this Guardian fight without turning dexterity back on. Just clearly not the kind of fight that I take very often, so this is going to be dumb. Luckily, as you'll see, I do notice it right as I push him over a bar, and I don't try and go for the full dex on his special 1. But this is also why Carl is so safe here, because in addition to being immune to the bleed from the Chitinous Thorns node, we are also immune to all shock effects, and so if Guardian does hit me, I don't have to worry about just getting accidentally deleted by his instant shocks. So this is where I realize that I still don't have Dex on. I'm able to still avoid that hit right there, because remember, you can still avoid non-projectile hits without Dexterity active. It's just that the window is smaller. Which is why that follow-up special 1, I did get hit by that one. Because I went for the dodge, but I clearly was not getting the window perfect. There it is again. I think I went a little bit too early both times, and so I do get tagged. Luckily, we have access to the regen, we have the taunt, and I also really need to remember to fix this bug with Carl, where if you try and refine, and it can glance the vulnerabilities, but still give you the regen. That was clearly a programming error on my part, so I will have to fix that at some point. But Carl is just a super, super safe answer for this node, even through the glancing. And so at this point, I, of course, go and put my masteries back on and head into this Silver Surfer. Now, as I've mentioned before, the chance for shock on this node is significantly lower than the chance for bleed on the node before it. And so we can't really rely on it for pausing in the same way. Luckily, there's Silver Surfer here, probably to stop somebody like Nebula. And so we are going to be ramped by all of these armor breaks instantly. As you can see, we are already in really good shape. We got double crits on that heavy. We've already done like 60,000 damage in burst, and there's a 24k critical burst of damage right there at the end. So yeah, Carl's pretty darn good for Surfer. And then we move on to my last fight, this Annihilus on Polka Dot Power. Now, the way that I intend to play this fight is that Annihilus will hit into me, it will cause an obliterating strike, it will fail to put an armor break on me, which will pause me and ramp me, and it will put a stifle on me. And then I will dash back, the stifle will create an unstoppable buff on him, it won't last very long, and that will give us power. As you've noticed, he has not triggered an obliterating strike until just now, almost 30 seconds into the fight, and so we have almost lost our form. And we do not have a whole lot of power. See, there it is again. Just, I don't know. It's funny because with anybody but Absorbing Man, this would be incredible RNG for an Annihilus fight, and it would be making it much, much easier. But this is Absorbing Man, and so this is terrifying RNG, because I have now lost my form. And I am so thrown off, because he now has a few flourish, that I don't go for my special 1 there, despite the fact that I should. I definitely should have thrown it into block there. But yeah, I got a little bit flustered, dashed back, he triggered the unstoppable again after I got hit. We threw our special 1 instead. Not ideal, but that's okay. We finish it with the special 1 because he did push us to 600 morph charges. We had those vulnerabilities on him. And the special 1 closed it out. But that was almost way, way worse than it needed to be. So I just need to, next time I take that fight, be a little more open to the possibility that we might get lucky in a way that actually hurts us, and just plan for that in the fight so I don't get flustered. Now, overall, this was not a good war for us. We dropped a number of deaths that just were unfortunate, understandable in one way or another, but not our best, and it happened across, I think, all three battle groups, so let's hope that we don't do that again. But thankfully, we got a little bit lucky with matchmaking, and we did still win this one. So I believe that puts us at 4-3, and in a pretty decent spot as long as we win a few more for the end of the season. So until next time, thanks so much for watching, and take care.